Welcome everybody to another Pick a Card reading. Today's Pick a Card reading is all about what's coming up for you in July 2021 in terms of career and finance. And before I get to the choice of piles and the crystals and all of that, I just wanted to make a request. If you watch this video and you enjoy it and you'd like to see videos like this on career and finance that are connected to timing, let me know how frequently you would like to see them in the comments. So is a monthly reading of this nature something that you would like to see, or would you like it to be a little bit further along, like every 2 to 3 to 6 months, so that you can see how things work out? I'm really completely in your hands with this, viewers, because I'm happy to do it as frequently as monthly, but I equally don't want to spam you with lots of videos like this if you'd like to see other content and see this less frequently. So if you do enjoy the video and you feel you resonate with it and you want to see what's coming next, let me know in the comments about how often you might like to see this sort of reading. So with no further ado, let's get to the choice of your reading. As with all Pick a Card readings, it really depends on you choosing which of the 3 readings you most feel drawn to. To help with that, I have a lapis lazuli crystal on the first, on pile 1, an amethyst on pile 2, and a red jasper on pile 3. You may already know which one you want, and if so, just go straight down to the timestamps in the description box to find your reading. If you don't, maybe pause the video, contemplate it until you feel where you're drawn. If you do feel drawn to more than one, then by all means go to more than one. There might be an amalgam of messages between a couple of readings for you. One might be on point for your career and another for finance, for instance, or it just might be that it is an amalgamation between two. So you do you, as always with this, and when you know which reading or readings you want to view, I'll see you there. Welcome to your reading, pile 1. I'm using a very particular tarot deck for this reading because I think it's extremely clever and it's very much built around careers, particularly in organisations, corporations, larger organisations and so forth, but its kind of concepts very much cover most careers, whether it's in a small, medium or a large scale organisation, or even working on your own in your own business. And so this particular pack gives a sense of career and then the financial sort of stuff, particularly around cards that relate to finance in tarot more generally. It also has, on occasion with major arcana, cards that are more around corporate roles or business roles rather than, and the impact of that is like the major arcana. So this, for instance, is like the moon card. So I'm going to talk more in terms of what these cards say because I think that it's very much related to this type of topic. So this first line is to give me a sense of where you are at the moment, what you're heading into July 2021 with, and what are some of the energies that are going to be around you in July 2021. And then we'll have a look at what Spirit's advice is for maximising the benefits and dealing with any challenges. The good news for most of my pile 1, I think, is that you have 2 great strengths going into July 2021. One is that you have obviously established something well for yourself. You are either, some of my pile 1 with this card, with effectively the 9 of Pentacles, may either be in business for yourself or have reached a level of autonomy and some level of control over what you do in your business. If you haven't done that yet, then July is ushering in opportunities for you to do that in one way or another, whether it's through a new job, a promotion, a business idea. But there is a real promise there of the kind of autonomy and self-direction that achievement provides to you, and also of a healthy bank balance. Again, if you're not quite there yet, you're putting in place, and July 2021 will progress this for you, the things you need to get to that point. The other really strong thing here is that you have over here a very good sense of the information around your business. I would say whether it's your business or it's a career that you're in, you have a very good natural business acumen and you understand data, you understand information and how business information can be used to consolidate and build what you want to build. And I would say that's why my sense is that many of the people who've come to this particular reading are already quite successful or very much on the fast track to be successful. And that's only going to continue through July 2021 and further out. There are some challenges or issues to be aware of that are around you at the moment. So you're very practical and you're very good with the business data, but there's something, this is saying there's something, whether it's in the organisation you're in and you may then only be tangentially aware of it or impacted by it, or whether it's your own business, your own career, there are some potential issues around teamwork, around whether everybody's working together. You could be in a team or an organisation where there's a little bit of unrest around that and around whether everybody's pulling their weight. And there's also an issue, and this may be you, or again, it might be related to the team. It will depend from person to person with this collective reading. But there is some issue around making sure that all the skills and qualifications and requirements for whatever this career is, whatever this business is, whatever the money-making opportunity is, are there and are able to be accessed. Because money, Eight of Money, which is effectively the Eight of Pentacles reverse, could suggest not having finalised some study or some qualifications, or just the need to keep up. Some of you may have a need to keep up with certification qualifications in terms of professional development. And there is a little bit of a hint here, that if that resonates to you, that you've maybe put so much energy into the career or the business and into really using your overarching skills in that maybe you haven't kept up as much with that as you could. So it's important to do that. The Spirit is just bringing it out to say, for those that resonates with, that's important. For some of my pile one, it could be also indicating that you're coming to the end of doing study and you're going to then go out and be in a career or be in a business. If that's the case and you've got an opportunity at the moment to maybe do something more autonomous, or there's an offer on the table, then I think Spirit is saying make sure that part of what you negotiate with that is that you finish any of the qualifications, that because later on that's going to matter to you. Later on that's going to be important to get the best outcome that you could get. And as I say, if you're in a situation where possibly there are teamwork, this could be much more about whether or not everybody is working together. What is likely to happen with due diligence there? So due diligence within an organisation is a bit like an audit team. It looks at all those sorts of issues, which is why I think things like qualifications may be coming up and resonate for some of you. This is the function that will see, using the data, and you're very aware of that, where there are issues that need to be dealt with. So I think that Spirit is bringing this up for some of my pile one, because you're in a position to really establish yourself as being ahead of the pack. You know, if you're in a leadership position, to really establish yourself as one of the really spot on business acumen, well-rounded business people, or if you have a wish to be on the career path to that, you have an opportunity through making sure that you have everything in place and that you are doing everything you can around teamwork and around the skills and qualifications that you have to do your work. That will be noticed. There is some form of review going on around this, whether it's targeted on things like qualifications and teamwork, or whether it's something that just comes up through a staff survey. It could be anything. It will depend upon the organisation that you're in. And if you are in your own business, it could just be if you have any regulatory responsibilities, etc., then there are the usual sorts of reviews that occur with that. But there's definitely the sense that you're in the prime seat to take yourself forward and to prove yourself as a true leader, manager, business leader. The only issue is around understanding the teamwork and some of the qualifications, the way that you can potentially position yourself and the organisation in there. But I think it's very positive. These two suggest to me that you're very well positioned to start to maximise what you can get out of your career from July 2021 onwards. And I suspect you already know this, and this is just a confirmation, because this feels very, very secure, really. Subject to the fine print, almost subject to the details. So let's ask Spirit for a little bit more information about how you can maximise that, and in particular if there are issues around teamwork or around the skill composition of the people you're working with, or even your own qualifications and so forth, what advice Spirit would give you beyond the don't give up on looking into those things that can help you from July 2021 moving onwards. So, I should have said with the Nine of Pentacles there right from the start that I think I did say, as in terms of finances overall, I think July looks pretty good for you and there's potentially a growth period and start a cycle of growth. So I'm just saying that, or just reiterating that. This looks to me like many of you are in larger organisations, and some of this may be around whether there's change. So some of this issue around teams and so forth might have to do with the almost ubiquitous thing that happens in larger organisations where there are reorganisations and restructures and looking at product lines and all of that sort of thing. That could be hovering over the head of people, and maybe you are wondering whether you're going to get caught up in this. For a start, I don't think there'll be any major change with this card, with reorganisation, which is a bit like the death card in normal tarot, but in this case it's around the sort of change and so forth that occurs in organisations as a routine sort of thing as they look at their markets and their products and so forth. It's reversed. So I suspect any issue around that, at the very least, is going to be delayed. You're not going to see anything like that in July, and maybe not at all. So anybody who's concerned about that, I don't think that's an issue. If it does occur, I don't think it's really going to affect you because you're in a good position. It may, in fact, if anything, sometimes reorganisations give opportunities to people, particularly to move into leadership roles. You again, because the data 5, which is like the 5 of Swords, it's reversed, that's connecting to the 6 of Swords there. Your understanding of the business puts you in a really strong position. If it is your own business, you've got the data that you need, you have the understanding of the importance of that. If you are still studying or if you're just starting on your career, the amount of time that you've put into understanding the business will all work towards you, and I think in July 2021 you'll start to see the outcomes of that. There is a good standing, and this is saying ultimately, even though we've got the product 3 reversed there, ultimately the teams that you work with going forward will be good. I actually do think many of my pile 1 may be in a situation where people are just worried about the impacts of business. And given we're still coming out of the impacts of the pandemic, it could just be that there's still a little bit of worry around that sort of thing. But the fact that Spirit is saying here that this looks solid, I don't think it's really going to impact you. Or if it does, you're going to potentially move into more of a leadership role and have a very good team that you work with. So I think that that's good news. There is something going on. You're either looking at the data that you have, and you may well be talking with consultants and people if you're a business person to help you, and certainly that's suggesting that is potentially a good thing to do if you can afford it and you're looking at expanding what you do. There's something about the brand. There's something about the way the organisation is seen. There's some really great opportunities, and again for you potentially around your own personal brand, but for some reason that's not really being focused on at the moment. So I think that Spirit is saying that in July 2021 it's a good idea not just to be thinking about the team and the skills or whatever to make sure that it would meet any due diligence requirements, but also think about what does that mean for your personal brand, your career, the organisation that you're working in and so forth, if you are working in an organisation rather than running a business. So there's a real opportunity here to launch something new and that's possibly why there's no reorganisation. It might just be that there's a review being done around what the products might be or how to position yourself in the organisation or the organisation in the marketplace. But it's looking really positive. Like, I don't have a sense around this of major change. I can't see you leaving a job. I can't see financial issues. I can see only a good step up for you, or at least getting yourself on the career track and getting noticed. And you're partly getting noticed because people see, if you're in an organisation, how much you understand the business and how much you understand the data. It could be with that emphasis on data that some of my pile 1 are people who work in, say, IT or information management in some way. You could also be working in any of the kind of corporate functions potentially, but you don't have to be. You could be in a small business of your own, selling things on an online platform, for instance, in which case you've got a really good understanding of how to do that, but you're maybe not maximising all the money you could have and all the connections you could have. That could be one way of reading it. So I think that Spirit's key message to you in this period is to think about how you are ensuring and using your skills, how you work with others and make sure that there is a balance there, because I get the feeling that some of you may carry more of your weight than others do, and how you position yourself and or your organisation with that business acumen that you have and making the connections and the networks that gives you the best position. There's a lot of opportunity in this part one. There's a lot of a sense that July opens up options for you, and if you really think about them and make the right connections, then that's going to be really powerful for you. So on that happy note, I want to start to look at some oracles now, just to get a little bit more information beyond just the tarot. So I'm going to start with one that is about business. So for those of you that it resonates because you're in your own business, this deck called Secret Women's Business will be particularly appropriate for you, but you don't have to be a woman for this. It's not so much about gender, it's about the sorts of things that you need to think around with business, but it also applies to people who are just, well, not just, but are employees of organisations or who are thinking about what their career might be and how they want to position themselves going forward. So it has quite a broad range, and it really is looking at energies and things to think about, both in terms of the business and also personally. So let's see what Spirit wants to give you for advice for July 2021. Okay, so this very much fits with the energy of this. I get such a positive energy here. If you are worried about your finances and your career at the moment, there are opportunities that are going to start to come up if you haven't seen them already, pole one. It's a very positive energy. Firstly, we've got yes, go ahead. This is the best course of action for you. So whatever you work out and decide you want to do in July 2021, because you have got your data right, because you understand your business or career options and requirements so well, the answer is yes, you are going to move forward on some level with this and reap the rewards of that. It is saying reflect and set goals, so focus your intent by setting some goals. So I think that's picking up the little bit of a warning here, which was, are you using the skills and capacities that you have and your networks and connections enough to really launch what you want to do? And I think for some of you, you do want to launch something new. You haven't done it yet. You're kind of thinking about it. So if that's the case, I think, again, the answer is yes. Use your business acumen, but think about your networks. Think about the skills that you have and where you might be able to build on that and build on the opportunities and the career options by having those with complementary but different skills around you. So let's have a look at some astrology energy to see what kind of astrology energy is around you for July 2021 with particular reference to your career and finance, pile one. So, Pawan, I think that this is picking up, as I say, that slight warning. I think that Spirit is definitely saying that there's lots of opportunities coming for you from July 2021 and onwards, but there are things that you need to reflect and think about. So the first one, you've got the waning crescent moon. So this is around a particular phase of the moon, and this phase is about surrendering and releasing control of the universe, letting things come through for you. So it could be that some of my pile one, particularly with that reorganisation, the potential that there were changes or that was hanging over their heads, that things, as I say, like the pandemic or other business issues within an organisation, or even starting a business and all the things you have to sort through when you do that, there might have been some concern. You might have been burning the candle at both ends. You might have been feeling worried about things. But this is saying really to surrender that worry. You really have so much that you can use. The key issue is to really just think through and make sure that you maximise it all, because you've also got Neptune. Neptune is an interesting planet. It's a planet that can be the ideal It can be the dream, and so there certainly is a dream for you with the Ace of Cups effectively reversed there. So there really is a dream there for you, but sometimes Neptune can be a bit unclear, and I think that fits with the sort of sense of the due diligence, that moon sort of energy in the tarot. So I think it's advice again to just make sure you're clear on what you do. And the tarot correspondence to Neptune is the Hanged Man. So sometimes it's just having a different perspective, and sometimes it's a bit of delay. Now, I don't get a sense of a lot of delay in this reading for you, but it may depend on what your expectations are. So if your trajectory potentially is to become a self-made person with a thriving business and you're just starting, then it'll take a bit of time to do that. But I think you'll see the seeds of it starting to build from July 2021 onwards. On the other hand, if you're already very well established, it may be a quicker period of time, and it just might be the different perspective. So take from that what resonates. The last card is talking about the 7th house, and that is about partnerships and connections. And I think it's picking up this feeling I have that you may not right now have the right team or people around you, or you may not have fully understood and unleashed a team if you do have a team, or there's one that you're collaborating with. But that is coming. If you think through that and you think through the connections you have, and also where you can get advice, really good advice from others, then that will really help what you're trying to do, and that will really help your career and the money and your business if you have a business. And I do feel quite a few of my pile one may in fact be in their own business or thinking at some stage of business. And one thing I would say about this, actually, pile one, is if you are in an organisation at the moment but you've always thought about whether you wanted to run your own business, I think looking at this, you have the basic acumen to do that if you wanted. Of course, you need to do a lot of reflecting and setting goals. You have to do a lot of due diligence yourself around that and work out the timing. But this has a feeling. I used to read for a friend of mine who worked in senior roles in corporations, and I don't know how many times when I read for her, it looked like she should be in her own business. And it probably took at least a year of those sort of readings before she took the plunge, and she's been very successful. So sometimes, again, around timing, it could be that you have to get all your ducks in a row. You have to get all your pieces together to do it, but you definitely have the ability if you wanted to do it. So let's ask another oracle what you could potentially manifest in July 2021 and going forward for career and finance. Well, that's about as nice as it can get, pile one. Firstly, clarity. So yes, get the clarity. Understand what you have. Maybe you underestimate yourself. I wouldn't be surprised if you do. So firstly, understand what acumen and what skills you bring to the table. And if you feel anything is missing, find people who can complement that or do the study or whatever you need, because really the sky could be the limit for you if you want. And then the outcome of that, once you really get your ducks in a row and you do this, is prosperity. So there's definitely that sense. The first card of this was the self-made person. So regardless of whatever your career is, or whether it's a business, whatever it might be, you have that potential, which is really lovely. Those are both very strong outcomes, but one leads to the other, I think. One. So let's finish up with just a couple of energy cards, just to sort of see what other advice Spirit would like to give you to maximise the great potential, I think, that you have in July 2021 and going forward with your career and finance. Yes, Spirit is being very clear with you, I think, pile one. There's creation here. So that, I think that reversed Ace of Cups, effectively, Ace, the brand Ace that's in this particular deck, suggests that there is something that you could bring into being in your career. It could be a new job if you aren't working or you're looking for another job. It could be a business if you're building one. It could be a new product line in your own business or a business that you're working for. But there's something highly creative about you. But the beauty about it, pile one, is you have the business acumen as well. It's often a thing that's difficult for people who are highly creative. They're often highly creative, but they're not really business people, but you seem to have both. So I think that's one of the reasons why we have such a strong sense here. And then Spirit is saying blossoming. You are really coming into this time where things that maybe have been you put on the shelf for the moment, or you've been thinking about, you have done a lot of the work that you needed to do. And so there is an enormous amount of promise for you. And these things will take longer than 1 month, I think. no matter how far along it is. But you will be starting to see the seeds of this in July 2021. And from there on in, it really just depends on how far along the path you are already. But I have no doubt that you are heading into a very prosperous time. So pile one, I hope that that was helpful to you, and I hope it resonated, and I hope you enjoyed it. And if so, please like the video and subscribe. And as I said, if you did enjoy the video, I'd love to know whether you'd like to see monthly readings on this to keep tabs on it, or whether you think every 3 months or whatever it might be. It'll really help me know what frequency of these sorts of readings people would like to see. So if you do have a moment to put that in the comments, I'd really appreciate it. Beyond that, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome to your reading, pile 2. This first row of cards comes from a very particular tarot deck called the Business Class Tarot, and I use it for career and finance readings because I think it's a particularly clever deck. It's using the concepts of tarot and the structure and narrative of tarot, but it's putting it within a corporate or business context, which I can also extrapolate to businesses that people might run themselves, smaller businesses, government, any type of career thing really, and also because of cards that have to do with finance in them, also around monetary and financial outcomes, whether related to careers or not. But it does have certain cards that are different, such as human resources there as opposed to being the high priestess in the normal tarot and so forth. And that has been aligning certain types of functions to the deck itself, but it's very clever and it works very well, and I think gives me a good sense. And the first row is to give me a sense about what are some of the career and finance issues that you are dealing with as you come into July 2021 and during that period of time. So what this looks like to me is that there's a number of different people who've probably come to this reading. One group of people may be looking at whether they leave a workplace, leave a job. There does look as though there is a sense that something has not been completely stable in their current occupation. Now, if you don't feel that at the moment, I'm not wanting to alarm you. It probably isn't, that particular reading of this isn't meant for you, but I think that those who it resonates with, they'll know what I'm talking about already. And there's either been a new opportunity around for you, or there's about to be. So whichever it is, there is a sense that you can go to a new job, a new opportunity, a new business. So, and it may well be that turns up in July 2021 if it hasn't already. But there's certainly a sense for some of you that something is not within the organisation. It doesn't mean that it's bad organisation or anything, but it might have been going through a lot of change. It might have had a lot of impacts coming on it from the pandemic. It could be any number of things. But there feels like there's a kind of confusion. There's a confusion about the skill requirements and levels and so forth within the organisation. There's a confusion about where to put resourcing. There's a confusion around what brand or marketing or promotion or even cultural things are necessary within the organisation. And as a result, there's a sort of a difficulty in moving out of what is often in organisations called the storming, norming, forming periods of time. So that basically is around storming is when you have major change and everybody's or you have a merger and acquisition or something like that, where there's a new team dynamic or a new organisational dynamic and people aren't really sure they're going to be happy about how that goes. And then you have forming where that's all negotiated out, and then you have the norming where it becomes the new culture and the new organisation becomes whatever it's going to be. So for some of you that might relate. If you're in large organisations or even small to medium sized ones that have been going through a lot of change, it does look like there has been a lot of disruption, and it looks as though for you, because this is about for you, there is a new opportunity. It is possible that in some cases you may not leave the organisation. It might be that coming out of this change there's a new opportunity for you, or that you've actually been really part of helping your organisation or your employer refocus on something that is going to bring energy back to the organisation. Whatever it is, I feel like you will be okay. I feel like there is a good opportunity, but it's been a tricky time by the looks of things. For others, I think it may be around whether or not you, in a business that you're doing yourself, whether you have felt that you've really been getting the returns that you wanted out of it, and potentially also if you have other people working with you, whether you've had the right people working with you. But again, I feel like you've sorted it out. I feel like with the product ace there, which is like the Ace of Wands, there's an inrush of new energy coming in July 2021. There's a real chance to do something. You may in fact be an organisation, a business or an organisation that runs on a financial year that begins in July. Some do, and some do it on different years depending upon what country you live in and so forth. So it could be picking up that energy, but I do think there's been issues around the stability of something and the return of something. And it's not clear at the moment in terms of your finances. It might suggest that you've actually invested quite a bit of money either into study or in career or a business, or you haven't yet really been, if you're an organisation, paid your full worth yet. But again, there's something coming for you. So let's see what advice Spirit has for you about maximising the promise of that product ace in July 2021 and going forward. Okay, firstly, I think what Spirit is saying is, for those that I said you may not have been paid your worth, I think that Spirit's saying, yes, that's true, you probably haven't. Now, whether or not you're in an organisation or a situation where you can negotiate much of a difference to that, or whether you need to leave an organisation, only you will know that. But there is a sense here that part of your understanding and your creativity is able to create either for you a new career pathway, or even potentially a business if that's what you want to do, or even becoming someone within an organisation that has a sort of corporate consultancy role in some way, because you've got ideas, you're very creative, you're very inspirational. Certainly for anybody who's come to this reading that is looking at building their own business, if you have had some reversals or some issues, that's starting to open up, that's starting to go away. The clouds are disappearing around that. You have a very good idea, or you're going to come up with a very good idea in July 2021, which you can start to manifest, which promises a great deal of autonomy for you. If that's the case, very important to get very good legal advice around it. So if you are doing your own business and you have a product or an idea, make sure that you get it properly copyrighted, make sure that you get all the protections that you need. And if you need to get advice on that, then get advice. Spirit is saying very much that's very important to make sure that you set it up in a way that's going to work for you. And if you're in an organisation, as I say, it may well be that you're somehow connected to things that have around contractual or product related issues and so forth, and some of your business acumen is going to help you with that. For my people who may be leaving an organisation or who've been in a difficult organisation, Spirit is saying it's a tricky decision for you to make, because it does look as though most of you have had a good team around you. There's a lot that you actually love about what you've done in the organisation. It would be hard to leave. And I think Spirit is saying give it a little bit of time to see whether or not that's required, but you may have to make a decision around going. It could be that if you do leave an organisation, you may eventually be able to encourage people that you enjoyed working with before to come and work with you somewhere else, subject to whatever contractual limitations you might have on such things over whatever period of time. So I think Spirit is saying that it is potentially an issue for some people, because there is a good culture around, good teamwork. It's really something else that's been triggering some of this issue. So it's part of the thing in the calculus for you about what you want to do. But it does feel like for some people, there may be a departure of something. See, data 3 is like the 3 of Swords. This is the 3 of Swords reversed. So it doesn't mean a separation is occurring right now, but it's just there as a possibility, I think. So I think, and if you are in your own business, it may be that once you get more information, you may streamline what you're doing. And that might be also part of the contractual and legal things that are involved there as well too, if that resonates for you. But there is a sense of potentially thinking about whether you stay where you are at the moment. I don't think you'll make that decision in July 2021. I don't think that Spirit is saying you have to. I don't think that there is anything that will require you to do it either. But you may, if you are in an organisation that's going through a lot of change, you may have some sense that that may be a question later on. And if that's the case, then I think Spirit is just saying start looking at what your other opportunities are so that you're in a really good position to maximise the best outcome out of that for you, say in terms of a redundancy or anything like that. So I think there's been difficult times around you, pile 2, and even if it is just around starting a career and it's been hard to find something that has any length of time, I do think that you're moving into a phase where you'll find something. But I think in July 2021, there's still lessons to be learned and thought about from what you've been experiencing to date. So I want to have a look at an oracle for you. This is an oracle called Secret Women's Business. It's not gender specific. You don't have to be a woman for this to be appropriate, but it's looking at business and career type issues, both in terms of the practicalities and also in terms of how to sort of feel about them, sort of attitudes to have, etc. for your highest good. So let's see what Spirit wants to tell you from that deck for July 2021. Okay, so this really picks up, I think, a number of the different readings of this. Firstly, it's talking about advertising about what you're doing and getting out and networking. So if you are in your own business, or if you are somebody who comes up with new product lines, new creative ideas and so forth, then it's going to be important, if you're in an organisation, to find the way to get that word out. And that, if it's advertising, it may well be through the area that looks after sales and marketing if you're not actually in it. Some of you may be. With some of these cards, some of my pile 2 may be in sales and marketing for their organisation, in which case it's really telling you what you already know. It's your bread and butter that this needs to be advertised. But it's also saying networking. So if you are looking for jobs, if you're building your own business, if you are in an organisation and you've got something to bring out into the world, advertising is one avenue, but networking is going to be a really important one. And I do think that you're very naturally good at networking with that brand 6, which is effectively like the 6 of Cups. You have connections with people. You have people probably in many cases going back even to your childhood or school or university, college, any of those sorts of things that are potentially contacts to help you around some of this. And if you do need to move from organisation to organisation, then it's advertising and networking about your worth and what you could bring to an organisation. So let's have a look at some astrological energy for you around July 2021. So this is interesting, pile 2. Firstly, we have the fixed signs. So that's Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius. You may be one of those or have that strong in your chart in some way. One of the key things about this, if it isn't you, if it's more around what Spirit's saying about an attitude or an energy around this, is it is what it says. It's fixed. It's about stability. It's about dealing with change through maintaining and continuing and growing rather than moving. This is why I don't think most of my pile 2, even if there's issues around the organisation you're in, I don't see you moving, not right now anyway. It's not the right time. It may be later once you've networked. You've got Taurus again, so Taurus, that's twice, so there may be a very strong Taurian aspect for you. If it's not you, it may be people that you're working with, or it may be even organisations, businesses and industries that are kind of Taurian, which are very sort of earthy. It could be anything from being a wine merchant for food, wine and song. It could be health-related sort of issues. You know, there's a lot of earth energy around this, so that might be part of what you're doing or where there are career or financial opportunities for you. But it's also a very sort of loyal sort of sign as well. It doesn't like to, it can be a bit stubborn. It doesn't want to move until it's ready to, and would be very connected to the enjoyment of an environment just as much as whatever the material outcomes are. So again, I think that's saying again that it's not, July 2021 is not necessarily the time to make a decision unless other circumstances make it so you have to. But what it is saying is that you're very powerful at manifesting. We've got the waxing crescent moon, and that is about setting your intentions. It's about self-assurance, self-confidence, planning, and so forth. So this is a time to really work out, brush up your resume, think about how you can advertise yourself, think about the things that you're creating, really set your intentions, because you're very powerful at bringing things into being. So if it's felt a bit chaotic around where you are, and I think for many of my pile 2 it probably has, you are much more able to navigate this than the average person, because you've got an interesting balance here. You don't jump ship from something until you absolutely have to. So you're not hair trigger in your response to anything. You're not dramatic in your response to anything, but you are very able to set intentions and make a decision based on that. And I think Spirit is saying, use that energy, use that characteristic that you have so that you make the decision at the right time. So let's ask another oracle. If you do that, what is the sort of material outcome for you from July 2021 and onwards? Okay, so I think that Spirit wants to talk again about your setting intentions. I think that Spirit's very, very keen that you understand how much you are capable of manifesting and how much you are capable of bringing about what you want. And I suspect Spirit is saying that because it has been a difficult time potentially, so don't lose confidence. There's also inspiration. There is something new that you can bring to the table, whether it's a new business idea, whether it's new in your organisation, whether you're just coming out of sort of college, you're looking for a job. There's something very creative about you. There's something very inspired. So really look to that. And once you've done it, fix your intentions and your wishes on the growth around that, and then start to plan. And that even if it's only the seeds of it that are coming in July 2021, you're setting yourself on the trajectory that will work for you. So I'm going to close out with one last oracle to look at energies, more general energies that are around you in July 2021, around your career and finance, pile 2. That's interesting. So again, it's kind of saying the acceptance. It's saying that go with the flow. It's understanding that this is not, even if it's been difficult, it's going to be for your good in the end. And as long as you use your manifestation ability and set your intentions and plans, if you just accept the energy, then something is going to come up, and it's something you don't expect. So I think even if you do have ideas at the moment, even if you're doing things that will start to put you on the right path, and I would definitely say keep doing it, there is something else here that is really going to help you, and I think really unlock your wishes and inspire you even further. I definitely have a feeling around this that you will come out of this really, really well. But it is accepting that, in a sense, all the white noise that's been around your career or your finances is just that, it's white noises. And if you focus on your intention and you focus on what you have to market and market yourself and or your ideas, then something's going to come out of the blue. And it's quite possible that an opportunity will come along in July 2021. If not, it's very soon thereafter, I would say, with that energy coming through. So pile 2, I hope that helps you for your career and finances in July 2021 and going onwards. And I hope you enjoyed the reading. And if so, I'd appreciate a like of the video and subscribing. And as I said at the beginning, I would really love to hear, if you did enjoy this and you'd like to know what's the next chapter, let me know how frequently you'd like to see these sorts of readings, because that will help me plan out my schedule of readings going forward to best meet the needs of the people who come and view my videos. So thank you for your time, and hopefully I'll see you in a future reading. Welcome, pile 3, to your reading. This first line of cards comes from a very specific tarot deck that is designed for looking at career and sort of money issues, particularly in a sort of corporate or larger, medium to large scale organisation, but you can extrapolate from that for smaller organisations or for businesses of your own, or for just starting out in a career without being really fixed to an industry. So I find it a really clever deck. It's called the Business Class Tarot. A really clever deck to give a sense around the real energies and how the tarot operates for career issues, and by extrapolation for monetary issues as well. And so you'll see things like human resources, which is one of the major arcana cards. It's a representation of the high priestess, for instance. Investors is another major arcana card, and so forth. And people like brand directors and product managers are like the court cards and so forth. So, but I'll talk very much in terms of what this deck is talking about rather than traditional tarot, because I think it is more to the point for this sort of reading. So this looks to me like most of the people who've come to pile 3 are probably either fairly senior in their organisation, or they're in an organisation where there's a lot of change going on and maybe a lot of long hours that have been worked, a lot of sort of issues around how the organisation is viewed and so forth. So you've either got a role that is connected to all of that and you're needing to sort of work your way through it, or you're just working in an organisation where those issues are going to impact on all of the employees to some extent or other, even if it's just in how happy they are in the organisation, or what remuneration they get, or whether it's something more significant. Now, at this point, it doesn't really look to me like in any of those scenarios you're likely to be leaving a workplace or there's any really major change or restructuring going on, but we will see what else comes out with the cards in a little while. But for the moment, it just looks like you're in an environment where there's a lot of energy being put into the product line, into whatever the service is that's going on, whether you're the business person, whether you're working in an organisation like that, or for some people it may even be the energy that's being put into study for a career. So I will step back to that as well too for those who've come to this reading in a minute. But talking first about being in an organisation along these lines, it looks like long hours, lots of work, lots of focus on the core business, maybe not as much focus on the culture in the organisation, how happy people are, all of that sort of thing, and because it's all about the product and finding the investors. So it could be an organisation that's been suffering because of the pandemic. It could be an organisation that its whole lifeblood is on finding investors for new avenues and so forth. It could be anything like that, but there's a real focus on product and investment and bringing in the right people. So even the focus of the brand, even the focus of the organisation is more on investors than possibly clients at this point in time, and it probably has to do with whatever issues have been dealt with in the organisation. But there is something as well that has to do with the culture in the organisation or the way the organisation is positioned in the marketplace. So you may well be in a role that's looking at that. If that's the case, then that's the issue. If this isn't getting the return you want, it may have to do with how the brand is seen in the marketplace, or it may be that you're getting a law of diminishing returns around what your employees are giving the organisation because they're just being overworked potentially for what you're trying to do. If you're running your own business, there's definitely an indication here about not overworking yourself, not becoming such a workaholic that you exhaust yourself. There is definitely good indications that investors could come or clients could come, and that if you just keep on keeping on, really you are going to achieve what you want. But the question is around the cost to either you personally or to employees on an emotional, cultural level. So, and something is going to come to light. Some people, this is very specific, maybe an organisation where something is going to come out about the organisation that is difficult, that makes things difficult. But again, this is saying it will be okay. It's not really going to affect the bottom line, but it may affect morale. So there's those sorts of issues around it. And if you are doing your own business, then it's just that there's some information that you need about how to position yourself in the marketplace that you don't yet have. But Spirit is saying if you keep doing what you're doing, you are heading in the right sort of direction. So I think overall it's positive, but there's something that needs to come to the surface, and there's probably a better work-life balance that's necessary. As I said, just going to, if you are coming out of university or college or school and you're looking to your first job, then you have all the signs of great industry and great skill, and you actually have really good business acumen for whatever roles you're looking for, but possibly you haven't worked out how to position yourself with the hiring managers. This is a very specific reading of this, but if you see your brand as yourself and that's reversed, and you see human resources as being the gatekeepers to hiring in organisations, there's some work you could do on that, and it has to do with really working out how to market your skills. And if you go, well, it's hard for me to find a job because I've been studying, I haven't really been working, then if you've done any voluntary work, if you've done things in community groups, if you've been a great team player in sports, whatever it is, there are things that you can actually bring to the table. So Spirit is saying some people who've come to this, they may be at that point, but they need to think about how they're positioning themselves with the people who would be looking at their resume or considering employing them. So with all of those potential options, and there's nothing in it at this point in time that's suggesting major financial issues, but we'll see. It seems to be more about where you put your energy rather than around financial concerns. But we'll ask Spirit now for some advice about how best to turn that around a bit, I think, and align it better with the very clear energy that you're putting into this. And if you're in an organisation, where this is occurring and it's outside of your control, how best to navigate your career in that organisation. So I think a very wide variety of people will come to this reading because it's almost touching on all of these things. So firstly, for the organisation where something is going on, there is a possibility of something like a merger and acquisition. There is a possibility of major structural change coming. It hasn't hit yet, but it may come. That could be a good thing, potentially, in bringing in other skills and connections that mean that the work-life balance gets better. But it's always a situation where there's a little bit of storming and forming and norming, as they say in the HR world, around that kind of thing. So that's why you sort of see that kind of picture around merger. And it may well be that the way you're going to hear about that as the case is, and it often is the case, is through sort of communication from the human resources area in the organisation, if that fits. Where that's the case, it's come from the fact that looking at investors and the market has seen that this has got the best outcome. And certainly for you, it suggests to me that you will find this helps you in terms of your remuneration, your career and so forth. I don't get the sense that you end up leaving. If this is resonating for you and this is happening in an organisation that you're in, I actually think you'll be able to position yourself really well. And it doesn't appear to be affecting your resources. Worst case scenario, if it did and you were taking redundancy, then you'll get a good payout. But I don't think that's the case for most of my pile 3. But definitely it looks like something's happening, and it's got to do with how your current organisation has positioned itself in the marketplace. It's not as strong as somewhere else. So to bring in the investors, either they take more control over what's happening and you might see some big shifts in very senior roles, or it may be something like a merger. But something's coming to shift this energy, and it's come because of either workplace culture or brand issues. This is interesting that philanthropy is reversed. It's actually like the world card, not the world card, the judgment card reversed. So I think that suggests that it's not going to happen instantly, and it suggests that it may seem to some people in the organisation quite harsh. Now, again, I don't think that you are going to suffer from it, but you may look at what happens and it may feel quite harsh. It's very much a business decision rather than a philanthropic one. What it is saying for those people, as I said, who might be looking for work, is if you've done anything, as I say, in community areas or whatever, don't forget about that. It's like you're almost forgetting that that's something that you could help to market yourself. So it's saying again that you can market yourself. You have things in your kit bag to market yourself that you're underestimating at the moment. So there's definitely that opportunity for you and real prospects about how you can market yourself. But think of it really pragmatically. Think about that sort of voluntary stuff that you've done or social networking or whatever that you've done as being a business thing rather than just that it was done out of the goodness of your heart. There may be, you will find if you're going for work that some HR areas are going to love what you do and understand it and others aren't. It's just a numbers game. So I think for the people there, that's just understanding that. So I do think for most people it has to do with large organisations or a business. If you are in a business, then you are positioning yourself very well in the marketplace, but you're not thinking about your work-life balance and you're not thinking about how much you personally bring, like your personal brand. You'd be the sort of boss within a small business who talked about the team all the time, but sometimes you have to also market yourself. So talking about business marketing and business approaches, I want to use a particular oracle that it's called Secret Women's Business. It's not just for women. It really can apply to anything. So take from it, you don't have to be a woman for this to work, take from it what resonates for you, but it looks at attitudes, outcomes, all sorts of things around being in a business or running a business. And so I think it's very fitting for a career and finance reading. So let's see what that oracle has for you for July 2021. Okay, so this is very much picking up, so equipment and product, we've got product. There is something, and then the resourcing that comes from it. You are very much connected to the equipment or product within your business or the business that you're in. And I think that's part of the reason why you will be fine whatever happens, because the product line is seen to be very professional. There's a very good reputation, I think, for the business on that level. This is far more around workplace culture or around other sorts of branding issues. It's not really about the quality, and the focus that you've done on that and continuing to focus on that will reap rewards. You are seen as very professional. And if you are going for a job, then think about how the skills that you've picked up elsewhere can help you be professional in a role that has to do with the equipment or product, and that will help you. But there's certainly a good sense that regardless of whatever's going on in terms of internal politics, if you're in a business, or merger and acquisitions or whatever it might be, that you're in a solid position, and ultimately there's again no sense, I don't have the sense that you're moving on from somewhere if you're already in an organisation. So let's see what astrology information and astrology influences are around you during July 2021. So this is interesting. The first card is Chiron, and that is the wounded healer. It's an asteroid, the wounded healer in an astrology chart. And that makes me think I think Spirit is saying here that there is another potential reading of this for certain people who might have come to the reading. Chiron within an organisation could very much be connected to the human resources and the brand and work culture of an organisation. So it may be that some of my pile 3 are very much involved in that side of things, and you may with these cards have felt like the organisation had not focused enough on culture and its employees for some time, and that was a real issue that was being dealt with. But your professionalism and your understanding of the business, you can turn that around. I think that basically you can bring that to the table. And it may be that an opportunity coming through investors or whatever is exactly the time when you can bring that to the table. So if any of my pile 3 are working in human resources, workplace culture, even corporate branding, and you felt almost like you're in the back seat on an executive committee meeting or in the functional terms of the organisation, I think there are opportunities coming through to bring your stamp to things, and that will be very helpful for you and for the organisation. If you are more generally looking for work, you may be looking for it in the healing areas, very sort of therapeutic or healing areas. That would be very well aspected. And there is a sense of you that you are very much about other people and caring for them. So again, that philanthropy side of things, don't underestimate how well that can position yourself. There's also the full moon. That's about harvesting and it's reaping what you've sown. There isn't a sense here that you've done anything wrong, but I think that you have an opportunity now to start to benefit from the fact that you've put the hard yards in and you're very focused on outcomes and so forth. So that's very good. So I think it's more likely to be the celebration of something, particularly with the money manager there for you. And then we have the cardinal signs, which are Aries, Cancer, Libra and Capricorn. You may be one of those or have one of those strongly in your chart. You don't have to. It may be that some of the people around you have those those signs strongly, and that's going to be important to what happens in July 2021. But unless you know people's charts, it's a little bit hard to know for sure if that's the case. But this is about being assertive, a self-initiator, a self-starter, being a leader. So that very much has that sense all the way through here that's really what you should be. And I think there's going to be opportunities to show that if you haven't already done that in your organisation from July 2021 going forward. And if you're looking for work, then I think by being a self-starter and getting out there, you're going to find that you get some really good results on that sooner rather than later. So talking about results, let's look at another oracle that talks about kind of the manifestation of things. It's sort of like magic and manifestation and what energy is around you in July 2021. So this is interesting, given the reading so far. I mean, it's very good news. Firstly, it says happiness. I think that as you go through July 2021, if things haven't been clear, if you haven't really been sure about your career prospects, the organisation you're in, your own business, I think you're going to become increasingly happy as you see how things are playing out. But it is important for you to contemplate, and I think that that's because you have been in a difficult period of time, Pile 3, in whatever version of it was. You were probably feeling frustrated and wondering whether or not you were in a secure position or whether you were going to find the role that you wanted. But if you contemplate what is around you, you're going to see the way through, and that leads to happiness, which is really nice. So last but not least, I want to have a look also at the energies that are around you, just general energies that Spirit can tell you are going to be around you on July 2021, particularly if that gives any more advice about what to do apart from contemplating your abilities and how to market yourself better. Because I think whether you're in an organisation or looking for a role, that's what's going on. As I say, don't get a huge issue around money. So it may be if you're looking for work and money is an issue, you're going to find work pretty quickly. But beyond that, I don't see you leaving, not having money, that kind of thing. Okay, so I think that Spirit is finishing up by sort of circling back to that feeling at the beginning, which is that there is something. You guys have gone through quite a bit recently, I think. There's been a lot of fear. Many of you may have been in organisations that were impacted by the pandemic. It could be that you've also found it frustrating looking for work. It could be that you were concerned about money. There's been fear around you. But Spirit is saying with discernment, with contemplation, you will find that you find your way through it. There is not a sense, I have to say, Pile 3, that you are going to have major financial issues or major career issues. If anything, the changes around you and understanding what you bring to the table is going to improve your position. And I think July 2021 is an opportunity to begin that journey. I don't think it's necessarily something that's going to happen quickly. I mean, if you're in an organisation that goes through a merger and acquisition, it can take a year or more to fully settle from that. But I do think during that period of time, you have every opportunity to thrive and grow. And if you're looking for work, or you're looking from a job that you're in at the moment, or you're fresh onto the employment market, I do think once you really contemplate what you can bring and you use discernment about which organisations to go for, you're going to have a lot of success very quickly. And if you are somebody who has a role looking after all of this, then you already know there's fear, and you already know, you would already have in your kit bag ways to deal with that. That's part of your professional outcome. So that's part of who you are. And then the discernment is how and when to speak, to use your voice, particularly if you are in an organisation that has underplayed human resources, work culture and brand. There will be an opportunity and you will be able to discern when to do it. So Pile 3, of all the piles, you have probably gone through the most of recent times, but I think there's a lot from that you can take and move forward with. And I do think that July 2021 is the beginning of a more secure and happier outlook for you. But some of it is about you really understanding how much you have to offer. So I hope that was helpful. I hope you enjoyed it. And if so, please like the video and subscribe. And as I said in the introduction, if you did enjoy it and you'd like to have the next chapter of this, can you let me know in the comments about how often you would like to see it, whether it's monthly or whether you think 3 monthly, for instance, has a longer period of time to see things as they develop. I'm very much hoping to crowdsource an opinion on that so that I do these sorts of readings when people want them rather than spamming it unnecessarily if you want a longer period of time. On the other hand, if you really do want to see it monthly, then I'm happy to do that. So please let me know what you think. And beyond that, I hope I see you in future readings.